and Jesus loved to show us how his Father loves.
When Jesus was all grown up, he really did a lot of stuff. On top of high hills and in boats out at sea. Sat down by tables for supper or tea. But he also loved lots on a kind of tree. It's 100% true and a super cool story.
Jesus said and Jesus loved to show us how his Father loves.
On a great big hill, Jesus told a story about two builders. Let's call them Billy and Bernie. Billy, being silly, built his house on the sand. But Bernie, the brains, built on a rock on the land. After the storm, Billy was grumpy because his house was in pieces, all broken and lumpy. But when you listen and do what I say, you're like Bernie, the builder, who built it the right way.
Jesus did, and Jesus loves, to show us how his Father loved.
Jesus was by a lake with friends, and people came to follow him. It got late, and bellies grumbled because they had no food to swallow. So, Jesus did a miracle. 5,000 mouths were fed. He did it with 2 smelly fish and just 5 loaves of bread.
In a boat out at sea, his mates had a big surprise. They saw Jesus walking there. They just couldn't believe their eyes. He wasn't in a boat and he wasn't wearing skis. He was just walking on the water and doing it with ease.
Jesus served and Jesus loved to show us how his Father loves.
Jesus was at a table with friends like John and Pete. He made some soapy water and scrubbed their grubby feet. "You can't wash my feet," says Pete. "No way, not happening, never." But Jesus did the messy jobs, though he's the most important ever.
Jesus ate and Jesus loved to show us how his Father loved.
Jesus was having supper. He broke the bread in 2. It's a picture of my body, and it's broken now for you. He also filled a cup with wine. Remember, when I'm gone, that I died because I loved you and paid for all your wrong.
Jesus prayed and Jesus loved to show us how his Father loves.
Jesus was in the garden. He knew his time had come. "I wish there was another way, but let my Father's will be done."
Jesus died and Jesus loved to show us how his Father loves.
Some didn't like Jesus. He said he was God's son. They thought he was telling fibs and telling them for fun. And though he was God's son, they nailed him to a tree. In between 2 robbers, he died for you and me. He said, "It is finished." And then he closed his eyes. And in case he was pretending, they even stabbed his side.
Jesus rose and Jesus loved to show us how his Father loves.
A woman was at a graveyard. A man asked what was wrong. The lady sobbed and sniffled. "Jesus' body's gone." She thought he was a gardener, but there was no spade in view. But Jesus called her, "Mary!" Then, "Teacher!" she cried, "It's you!"
So now Jesus is alive. There's lots he wants to give.
But most of all, it's life and love.
So we can really live.